best thing.
All right, today we're going to be breaking down the things that are working currently in today's market, the things that aren't working in today's market. But really what I want to focus on today, Stallion, is more to talk about what will work or will not work as we enter this upcoming crash, because I have a feeling that we have a crash coming, and I'm the ultimate optimist. So I'm not bringing the bad news blues here, man. I'm not trying to be negative Nancy. I'm just telling you, like when you start looking into the Asian markets, you start to see that they're down 10, 20, 25, 30%. We're getting, friends in the real estate world, they are down. They've more real estate people, professionals are leaving the market than entering right now, right? We're seeing house prices. Every Zillow I'm following is dropping. There is an upcoming pullback, right? We're in the middle of it. We're going to look back years from now and say, oh, we were right in the middle of it when we were having this conversation. So I'm not predicting anything. I'm just literally just reading what's happening out there. And I want to bring this up because this isn't intended to scare you. You're listening to this for reasons, right? You're listening to learn. Those who are informed can make decisions that will ultimately take advantage of all the opportunities. But you got to be prepared for opportunities. So, Joey, when we talk about the number one obstacle to becoming financially free is what?
Access to cash.
The obstacle is having access to cash?
Not having access to cash. Excuse me.
Got it. Yes, 100% not having access to cash. So this is so important, tribe. We hammer the fact that you have to have access to money. There's so many things that are pulling at your dollar. There's retirement accounts, those 401k plans, those IRAs that are just this siren song to put money in there, to keep giving them money for the next 10, 20, 30 years with the hope that all things will be fine and dandy 30 years from now. Don't worry about what happened in 2023, 2024. In 2068, you're fine, right? Like it all smoothed its way out. That's one of the big issues. Another big thing is that we're trying to pay off every debt we have. Well, I would say when in a market crash, we do want to eliminate unnecessary liabilities. I'm in the process. I've been telling Joey, like, I've probably acquired too many personal liabilities, and I've been trying to figure out ways personally to back out of some of those things, to reduce some of those stupid expenses that exist. And the third way that we do is that we end up paying cash for everything, and we never count the cost of it. So those three big mistakes is what keeps us from having access to cash. But when you understand that those are the mistakes, Joey, they have to have a place to put cash. There's a reason why we've been talking about infinite banking all summer long, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, it solves all those things, right? It gives you the process to count the cost of paying cash. It gives you a real tangible way to quantify that, because as we've said before, the real cost of paying cash is the opportunity cost, and nobody ever sends you a bill for that. There literally is nothing that has been physically provided to you to show you how much that money actually costed you, because it was not growing on your behalf. And besides that, it gives us a place that we can access our capital to take advantage of deals. Because I want to just reiterate what you just said about the market. There's always two sides to any market. And there's one that is insanely profitable and one that is insanely difficult. You just have to figure out which side of the market you want to be on, and which one that you can actually benefit from. Because Nelson Nash, the author of Become Your Own Banker, our mentor, the guy that set us on this path, he used to always say this: if you know what's going on, you'll know what to do. And I just apply that to this market right now. That's why we're investing this time with you to go through these things and to give you our insights. And we're also sharing things that we've heard in our masterminds, other people that are in community with us, so that we can gain the perspective of others and then share that with others, so that we all can be in that rising tide and take advantage of these opportunities.
You have to be, and I hate to tell people what to do. I mean, unless it's Joey, because I'm always telling him what to do, right? But you have to be in a collaborative environment. If you're not collaborating with others right now, you're going to get left behind. right? Like to think that you're the only one with all the great ideas. I know they call me the idea guy, but man, rarely is the idea mine. I'm just looking and listening to others' ideas and putting my little small tweak or spin on it, or just literally running with it. Sometimes for worse, right? There's been some examples that haven't worked out all the ways, but you got to be collaborating. You have to be leveling up with others because so many people have a different viewpoint on the world. Joey, we're going to be in our passive income mastermind Club 200 call a little bit later today. And what are we doing? We're collaborating, right?
Absolutely. We're taking in the perspective of others and not assuming that we already have arrived. Again, another thing Nelson would say is, do you have the arrival syndrome? If you think that you know all the answers right now, and if you think that you can't be taught, you've got this arrival syndrome, and it is one of the biggest barriers that is keeping you from either financial freedom or at least further financial success. So,
Right,
you got to get rid of that.
So this podcast, we're going to break down kind of what strategies are working, what's not. Let's first talk about there's 5 things that is required to do a deal, Joey. And
That's right.
in the South, that's a redneck motor, MOTER. What's that acronym stand for?
Well, there's 5 things that you have to put a deal together and to create passive income, right? Money is the M, O is opportunity, T is time, E is experience, and R is relationship. And we add that relationship, by the way. I want to mention this for a second, because relationship are the accelerators. We've learned this from Sharon, our mentor and business partner, and we've heard it from each of you. As you've come to our events, you've come into our masterminds, you realize that, man, the relationships that you get compress time. They make getting to financial freedom and or to growing your vision of what's possible in like a tenth of the time. And that is unbelievable to me that people forget that. And that's why we added that little redneck R on the end as the motor.
So we're going to come back. We're going to break that down a little bit because I want to help you. If this is the very first time you're hearing us, or you're really early on your journey, you're trying to figure out how to build passive income streams, there's a lot of potential hangups you may have in that first section there. The second section, Joey, we've got to talk about what we've tried, right? Every single month we come, we show the world our passive income report. We started this 3 years ago with about $2,500 a month in passive income. We've grown it to where consistently it's in the 50,000, sometimes 60. I think last month, in the month of June of 2023, we were over 75,000, right? So we've had some successes, but we've also had several failures. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we're trying and what we're doing. But thirdly, we want to talk about I really want to hear your opinion on this, Joey. I want to think about, man, if we truly are going into a market crash, if we are going into an environment of a pullback, like maybe what we saw in 2009 and 10, what do you believe in this market will be working? And what are the things that maybe we're currently doing that we need to get out of? Because that will be huge to understand. And this is definitely going to be very opinionated, but it's going to come from an experience of where we are and what we're looking at. You cool with that, Joe?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that'll be really helpful.
All right. Number 1, motor. The M was for money. The biggest obstacle to becoming financially free. One more time, Joey.
The lack of access to cash.
Right. So many times you're sitting there and say, okay, in order to be able to put together a deal, to do a deal, I need money. And the answer is yes, you do need money. So if you've got your money stored somewhere you can't touch it, it's going to potentially be a hindrance for you taking advantage of opportunities, being able to get into deals, to even see deals, right? So many times people don't even look at deals, don't even get an opportunity to see deals, or see too few of deals to know which ones are really good or bad because they have no money or they have no access to money. So you need to understand that this is such an important factor. It's why having cash value life insurance is our key ingredient for keeping our money liquid, because we don't want to stick it in the bank. I mean, I'm just telling you, if things are failing, you know who else is potentially going to fail? The banks. Go back and look at 2008, 2009, 2010. We had almost 500 banks failing per year during that time. And we're starting to see the uptick in the banking world. I don't want to get all my money there, right? I want to be very cautious. I want to protect it. That's the reason why we do that. People are like, is it because life insurance is so great? It's not that because it's so great. It's because it's safe, right? These companies are hundreds of years old. There's a reason why we store money there. It's safe from taxes. It's safe from creditors. It's safe from the fractional banking system that exists.
Right. I want to add to that. The biggest thing that I've heard from people in our community as to why they're not at the level that they need to be, there's two factors I want to talk about that pertain to money. They think money is literally the only thing that they have to have in order to do deals. And they forget the other four pieces of the puzzle. And two examples recently that I want to point out. Two people in our community, one in our mastermind, had a guy that he's like, man, I really love the people in the mastermind, but I think I'm going to have to get out. And I was like, what are you talking about? That makes no sense. He's like, I just feel like they have more money than me. And so they hear of a deal, they could take advantage of it, but I don't have access to as much money. He's more of an entrepreneur. He's more of like building businesses from scratch. And that's kind of been his MO this whole time. And I said, but do you think that the best investors in the world always use their own money to do deals? It was just a simple question. And he was just
pause right there. Replay what Joey just said. Do you believe that the best investors in the world always use their money to do deals? Keep going. Sorry.
The answer is emphatically no, because everybody has a cap on their own money, but there's something unique whenever you put yourself in a position to learn all of these different passive income streams. You're getting on these calls, you're investing in yourself. All of a sudden, you start to see the world around you, and there's a lot of people in your world that don't have access to those deals. They don't have access to the experience that you have. They don't have access to the experts that you're learning from. And if you don't take that and offer the opportunity for those people to join you in investing, number one, you're limiting yourself. And number two, you're actually in some ways being really selfish because you've got this knowledge that so few people have. And whenever I put it to him like that, it was like a light bulb went off for him because he's naturally a person that wants to give back. He's naturally a person that wants to invest in other people. In fact, many of the businesses he started, he's put operators in that he loves and wants to support. And they've been successful as a result of them working together. But man, when I put it into like in a light like that, he was like, wow, Joe, he's like, you're right. I need to be thinking much, much bigger that the money that I need to do deals is not necessarily always mine. It's all the people around me.
So I'm gonna take the T and the E and put them together for an example, just to reiterate what you just said there. So the M in this redneck motor was money, right?
That's right.
The O is having opportunity, right? Opportunities. You might be the one who is in a job who's able to see the opportunities, right? We have Rick Rao that was on our podcast recently. He spoke at an event that we were doing where he was saying how he had opportunities coming at him, but he didn't know how to take advantage of them because he didn't have the money. But all of a sudden, he started to use two things that he did have: time and experience.
Yep.
Right? He had experience in working in a development space. He had time once he was able to do one deal and walk away from his job, had enough income from doing that deal to be able to free him up for 12 months to work on another one. So he freed up time. So then he could be the one who could then take the opportunities that he had available, the time that he had available in his background and experience, and utilize and partner with other people's money to do the deals. There's so many ways to get deals done, but so few of us will actually get creative. We'll say, oh, Russ, that T is the one I don't have. I don't have any time. Man, I wish I had more time to fill in the blank, spend it with my family, be able to, go to the gym. I'm in poor health because I've just run my body to zero. I don't have time because I'm 50 years old and there's only so many more years left on this ticker before I'm not able to be able to go and work. I don't have time because my job demands 80 hours a week of me. Well, if you don't have time, then that's the thing that you have to start to get. You have to find the angles to help you with that. So the M was money, O is opportunity, T is time, E is experience, right? I have another mastermind member who had experience in doing land flipping in a really big way. And what did he do, Joe? He went and partnered with another guy who was helping him solve the money problem. And they started doing deals, $100,000, $200,000 deals, flipping them for cash for 50 to 100% profits. And what ended up happening is they were, as he continued to gain experience, continued to utilize the time he had and partner with somebody else's money, opportunities kept flowing, right? The O kept flowing.
100%.
And what did he do? He started finding ways to do larger six-figure deals, now starting to do seven-figure deals. All of that was available because he had access to opportunity, he had time, and he had experience. The last one, Joey, was the R in motor. Hit on that.
That's right. And what you're talking about is sometimes the money comes from relationships. And it's not always the money side that comes from relationships. Sometimes it's the opportunities. Because I know so-and-so, they're now giving me access to deals that nobody else has. That's my unique ability. Now I can go out to the marketplace with and do that. I'll give you another example. I just actually talked to our friend Larry Murray. And Larry is a firefighter. He's a captain of a firefighting place in Baltimore. And what he told me is, man, he's got opportunities all the time. He can underwrite a deal like crazy. But what he always needed was access to more money. He needed people. He said, I'm really not good at capital raising. But he has been able to be involved in multiple multifamily deals. And now he's even venturing into short-term rentals because he's never let that stand in the way of him expanding, because he can always find through relationships, either in the community he was in with the multifamily or within Wealth Without Wall Street, he's been able to find the money. It just is there. It's abundant. And we have to get out of this idea that it's always scarce or something that is hard to come by.
Well, here's the thing is we're talking about the pending, upcoming potential crash, right? Well, boy, there's going to be a lot of conversations happening around the water cooler. There's going to be a lot of conversations happening at the kids' sporting events, family reunions. People are going to be trying to figure out, what do I do now, right? Because over the last 8 to 10 years, even though the last 2 years in the stock market has been crap, last 10 to 10 years, people have just been printing money, right? I mean, in the fact that their account values have been going up. They ain't actually been taking any money. Just that's great. That's great cash revenue for all the financial people in the world that get paid fees on it. They actually have been getting the money, but everybody else is just watching their account values go up. And you have to be really bad to have lost money as the government has just been increasing the money supply. But what we've seen is the stock market over the last 2 years gone flat. Right? It's actually even a little bit down. So people are going to start, when it starts going down though, like it's been kind of flat, but when it starts losing 5, 10, 20, 25%, that's when people start going, ooh, what do I do now? And they start asking questions. They start looking around. Well, man, there's the opportunity. You got relationships all over the place. So the opportunity to build relationships, to talk to people, to go to events. We're about to have an event. I don't know if this is going to go live before then or not, Joey, but we're going to be live in Nashville here at the end of August. And the relationships are the accelerator. That's where people will develop opportunities with connections, people that they can learn from, that they can do deals with, that they will be able to, ask questions of in the future. Relationships are so huge. Why did we start this podcast?
Because we didn't know where the deals were. We didn't know where to take our cash values and deploy them to create passive income. So we went to the source, to the people who are the experts.
And did we just do the podcast and never talk to those people again?
No, we followed up. In fact, you know him, you love him, Mark Podolsky, the land geek. We have now spent, I think, what did we decide? 14 or 15 boot camps in a row, we've been present in their community to provide value around this infinite banking concept. And that he's been present now is a member and a founder of our passive income mastermind. So those relationships have continued to grow. And it's just a matter of, where did it all start? Just a simple interview to share that with you.
Well, and without that relationship, right? Without having done that podcast, without deepening that relationship, going to where we actually could learn more about it, we wouldn't have been doing land flipping, right?
That's
so as
right.
we move into this second section, I want to talk about what we've tried. We've tried a lot of things. We've done land flipping. We'll talk about that in a second. We've done short-term rentals. We have done crypto mining. We have done syndications. We've got into the course creation, affiliate marketing. We've done private lending of lots of different ways. We started investing into small companies, startup companies. We've even created minimal revenue in the Turo and the revenue RV share space, right? Like we've tried a bunch of things. It'd be hard to say many people over the last 3 years have tried as many different types of things as we have. True statement?
Yeah, I mean, if you get paid for trying, we would be just striking gold for sure.
Well, here's the thing, though. When I think we have been paid for trying, right? We started our passive income report in July of 2020 with about $2,500 a month in passive income.
That's right.
I'm looking at July's report for 2023, and we're just under 50,000, 49,000 and some change. Have we gotten paid for trying, Joey?
We absolutely have.
Yeah. So what happens is the old saying is what you track grows, but what you track and report on grows exponentially. So we started trying things, and there's been some things that we tried and quit, right? Like we're like, let's get out of that. Quitting's not bad. Getting out of bad things is a good idea, right? Like don't keep doing bad things. But the land flipping thing has become a really beneficial thing to us. We've actually seen our net passive income almost achieve $20,000 a month. And that's a reoccurring passive income stream that comes every single month. We also were trying the short-term rental space. What did we learn there?
We learned that it's a wonderful thing to have an operator who runs everything for you, because you and I could never do that. And secondly, that there was a point where we decided that, man, this business really needs more of us and our money to grow to the next level. And we decided it was probably better to let the person who's more motivated to do it to actually take the reins. And we were able to sell that business to our operator a couple months ago. So
that is something we learned. I want to apply it to you though, as you're listening. What did that mean to you? One, if you have time and you want to find something to get involved in, the short-term rental space is something that you can utilize some of your time, trade some of your time, and create revenue. There's a great way to do that. If you want to be a purely, kind of business owner, find people to operate it, there's a way to do that. Joey and I figured that out because we scaled this up to almost 30 units at one point at our peak. We learned there's two different ways to go there. There's a path of doing, there's a path of owning. The path of owning, though, I will say you need to get 15 to 20 units in order to make that math work, because it is really hard, because the margins have been condensed over the last probably 2 years because a lot more people have got into it. What have we learned about the crypto mining space, Joe?
Well, for one, if you're going to be mining Ethereum, it eventually goes away. There is no more mining opportunity for that particular coin. But we've since switched to Bitcoin, and man, there's a lot of volatility and variation in that space. So it's not really a great passive income. It's more of a change of where you're actually putting your capital, like leaving your cash in a different format, if you will. How would you say it?
No, that's good. So the other thing we talked about that we've been working on is things in the syndication space. And one of the things that I've learned about syndications is that when you have to hand off that investment to a third party, You got to learn more about the operators that you're doing business with. It requires us to passive doesn't mean uninvolved. Passive doesn't mean not having done something, right? If you're just looking for another place to hand money off of and assume that it's going to be done exactly the way you want to, you're probably going to be disappointed, right? You might even be even worse than disappointed, find out there's opportunity where you lose money. So we have to be involved. When we get involved in syndications, we got to be able to know who the operators are. We got to understand why they're going to be successful in there. We have to do due diligence. If you don't know what all those checklists are, you got to be a part of a group that's doing that. One of the things we did in our passive income mastermind recently, we had a due diligence panel. We had some of the most successful people in the world, people who run $100 million fund, people who are CIOs for large family offices, people who are on the ground doing these things, helping give due diligence. You got to understand that. Joey, what about the Turo and RV space? What are some lessons that can be taken from this and applied?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's not necessarily about creating a ton of cash flow. It's more about hacking. In my opinion, what we've learned is the Turo and the RV space, if you're going to own one and rent it, it's the amount of expenses that you don't see, like for instance, the wear and tear, like the depreciation and the maintenance and all those things that you don't necessarily see as clearly on the front end, are actually really big killers on cash flow. And so if you go into it with the prospect that this is going to make me tons and tons of money, I think you're going to be disappointed. And
what's a realistic expectation on a monthly basis per vehicle? Do you think somebody should say, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to count in all the money, how much money per month should that person anticipate making?
I want to say it's probably $200 or less per month.
I would agree with that.
What would you say?
Yeah, no, I think, hey, when my first job out of college, man, 4 years, I was slinging rental cars for Enterprise Rent a Car Company, man. I lived in 3 different states, like 5 different cities. Boy, I was all over the place learning this business. And a great month was if we average $150 a car on the operating side. I think that is a realistic expectation.
But to your point, you were accounting for all those things on paper that most people don't consider, like the depreciation and all those things. Am I correct?
Yeah, 100%. But I want to challenge something you said there. One, because I'm learning from my end. I've learned that you cannot car hack on Turo. That doesn't exist. I think it used to, but the way the commercial insurance world has changed, unless you have 5 cars or more, you can't do basically private rental to yourself, right? So now you can't car hack. So that's what we were going to do. That was our thought process. Oh, we'll get a couple cars and then we'll do some car hacking for our teens. How about for you, man? Like with the RV, like can you, like if you rent it, or do you have to rent it to yourself? Like how can you drive it and it actually be covered?
So the operator that I work with has fleet insurance that I can pay the just daily amount of what that is whenever I take the RV out for myself. So when we travel in October for our family trip, we're going to just pay the daily amount of the fleet insurance, and that will cover us. But the good news is that I don't pay private insurance on the vehicle during the rest of the year because it is covered under that fleet insurance. So I was able to save about $70 to $80 a month on that particular, what I was paying previously. So that when I use it, I only pay as I use.
Well, so the lesson I've learned in the Turo, I see it as a scale thing, right? If you're looking just to learn and get experience running a business, you've never done something, man, great, right? Like you can do it. If you keep it small enough, you're going to learn profit and loss. You're going to learn marketing. You're going to learn customer service. Like it's a great little learner business. That's the reason I wanted to do it for my daughters. If you think this is going to be your pathway out of the rat race, I just don't see it unless you can scale it to 20, 30, 40 cars, because it's going to take a decent amount. And in order to do that, you're going to have that business owner mindset. You're going to have the skill set to be able to manage people, manage assets. There's just a lot that goes into that. So just be careful as you go into that. I just want not to set you up for failure, but to set you up for success. The private lending business, Joey, being in the, we've done 2 different deals where we've lent to both a private note fund, but also most recently being an investor in a platform that you and I love, TriVest, right? Like where we were actually getting excited to be in that business and helping this business grow and doing some private lending just to the company itself.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not familiar with TriVest, I want to encourage you to go check it out. In fact, I think we have a link here. If you go to trivest.com/partners/WWS. I mean, that's a mouthful, but hopefully you're watching this on YouTube and you can see it on the screen. TriVest helps with exactly what you and I were just talking about in the motor, right? Let's say you have the opportunity, you have the time, you have the experience, but you need the money. And there's people around you that want to be involved and they need access to those type of opportunities because their money's just sitting on the sideline. It's actually getting eaten by the termites in their wallet, which we call inflation. And you can go on TriVest and start a tribe to invest in those opportunities that you found. You can invite friends and family to invest with you. And they've made it simple. They've made it easy. And that's why you and I are passionate about both having Travis Smith, their CEO, at our events to share this good news with people, but also that we want to back it. We want to encourage people to use his platform because it solves a major problem and they do it better than anybody else that we've ever seen. So that's what's motivating me to be a part of this and encourage you to check it out.
Well, I think going back to our first point, right? So our first point was a motor. And in the motor, one of the biggest obstacles to become financially free was the money. Mm-hmm. And we talked about we need all these other things to do a deal. We need the opportunity. We need the time. We need the experience. We need the relationships. And what I love about TriVest, Joey, is that you actually can solve the motor problem within a tribe, right? Because now you get a group of people bringing money together, right? You get a group of people bringing opportunities together. You get a group of people bringing time to be able to do different elements of the business. Group of people being able to share experience, right? There'll be a few that will have great experience in certain areas. There'll be others that'll bring great experience from a completely different background that can challenge and benefit the business. And what are you doing? You're building relationships, right? You find opportunities through those. So it is such a great opportunity to use. That's why we wanted to back it, because we felt like this was a missing piece in the financial world. Tribe, if you are not already finding ways to invest with friends and family, go to trivest.com/partners/WWWS, and they're going to give you some money when you first start that first tribe to get it going. I love doing this because I think this is such a win. And I this one, we have Travis Smith speaking at our event coming up in Nashville, because I think it's such a needed element to this last piece. So first part was motor. Part number 2 was what we're doing, what we're working on. Part number 3, though, Joe, is we got to wrap this up, is where do we see things happen? Where do we see things going in the future, and how does that benefit us?
So, all right. So I'm going to take a crack at this and try to be as concise as possible. So a couple trends that I see in the market right now. Interest rates are super high. So the people that bought homes in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years are, unless they're forced to, they're going to stay settled, right? How can you trade a 3% mortgage for a 6.5% to 7% mortgage? People trying to get into the second home markets, right? Buying a beach house, buying a lake house, whatever the case may be. Those properties in general are losing value faster because the interest rates on those second home mortgages are now looking exactly like investment property loans. So they're considerably higher. Let's say the current market rate for a primary resident is like 6%. I'm just ballparking. A second home might be 7.5%.
Didn't you say there's actually some new law or some new rule that has now taken second homes and thrown them into that where they used to not?
Yes, they essentially added an adjuster to the rate to make it match what an investment property loan was, where historically it might have been a little bit higher than a primary mortgage rate, but not nearly the massive jump up to the investment property rate. And so that's gonna cool that market down, and it's gonna allow some of those values to drop. Now, subsequently, you're seeing that the rental rates in those markets, those second homes, those short-term rentals, have softened, because in the last 2 years, it was like a frenzy. People were just renting. They wanted to get out of their house because of COVID. It just inflated that marketplace to where people were buying second homes at the low interest rates with the expectation that they were going to be able to continue to get these higher and higher, short-term rental rates. And the problem is those have pulled back. Anybody that's looking at the trends in 2023, they are lower historically than 2022, and certainly than 2021. Like 2021 was the banner year in terms of the short-term rental rates. And so some people are going to get caught like, I can't afford this like I thought I would, because they were doing it off of projections. So those are a couple things. Another thing that I just recently saw is that some of the biggest mortgage lenders are getting out of lending mortgages. Wells Fargo, for instance, my alma mater, if you will, who I used to work for, they are getting out of the mortgage space. Now, what happens, Russ, whenever people
pause right there? That's you're talking, and oftentimes we just miss this. Wells Fargo, the largest by more than double the next lender in the mortgage space, is getting out of the mortgage market altogether. They have been double the size of their second competitor, and they're getting out. All right, keep going, because that you just can't miss that. Like that's not just a ho hum stat. Like that is a why.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't tell you exactly why, but what I will tell you is what happens whenever supply shrinks. Right, the demand should go up. In this case, you got people wanting to buy, and the mortgage companies are not lending. This is a bad situation, right? In fact,
when there's less lenders, that's supply, right? There's less lenders, but yet there's still people looking to buy houses. What's gonna go up specifically, Joey?
In my opinion, the rates have to stay high, because it becomes it's in smaller. There's a smaller portion out there that people can get their hands on, so they can charge more for the use of it. Is what I'm saying. So we've been thinking interest rates are going to come down. They have to come down, right? In fact, historically, they've always kind of come down in the case of a depression or a recession. But I'm not so positive that that's going to happen as a result of something like this happening with Wells Fargo getting out of the mortgage business. Now, the last thing I'll say about this from a trend is there's more and more of these communities. Maybe you've seen them in your area, where they're called build to rent communities. Have you seen these?
Yeah, we got one like literally at the front of where I turn in to come back here to our little community is a build to rent. They put in 60, 70 homes. There's two different versions in there, and they put up 60 or 70 homes, Joey, in less than 3 months. I mean, just whoo, and now they're full.
Okay, so a couple things about that. Is there that much more demand to rent, or do they know something is coming that we are not necessarily privy to? And I'm kind of a borderline conspiracy theorist, so just bear with me. But when you hear the Klaus Schwabs of the world say, in the future, you will own nothing and you will be happy, there is a trend. If you start putting together these pieces, right? The mortgage companies getting out of the business, the interest rates being so high that some people are just going to stay put. They're not going to move. And this whole population of millennials and Gen Zers coming up are potentially not going to get the opportunity to buy, right? Because those factors keep them from doing it. They're going to have to live somewhere. And there's going to be these build to rent communities that are popping up like crazy. Does that mean that some of these banks are switching their whole philosophy from being the lenders to being the owners that then continue to rent in perpetuity. That's just a thought. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Here's the thing: is that when people are saying, "Well, man, if we're building homes, aren't these groups going to be borrowing money from Wells Fargo?" And the answer is no, right? Like the three big players in the mutual fund world that have like 85% of all the ETF money out there, they are getting all the pensions, right? All the private pensions monies they've got. So when the BlackRocks of the world go out and buy thousands, tens of thousands of homes in cities, are they going to Wells Fargo and taking out a loan for 80%?
No.
Heck no. No, they're paying cash. Why? Because they can't borrow the money. Because whose money do they have? They've got the investors' money. But as we said at the very beginning, the biggest obstacle to being financially free is that lack of access to cash, because you've given it to those jokers. You've given them all your money. And now what do they do with it? They're going out and buying all the real estate, right? They're now controlling the real estate. They're going to take that rent payment and they're going to siphon off a piece towards your ETF, your mutual fund, right? And they're going to live off the fees in the middle. Yeah, the Wells Fargos of the world are seeing that. They're seeing the largest purchasers are corporations. They're not individuals. And they, like you said, the new people out there, the ones coming out of college with $150,000, $250,000 of student loan debts, and they don't have MD or DMD behind their name, right? They're not veterinarians. They're not optometrists. They don't have degrees to support those incomes. They're having to go into rental homes. And so because of that, who are they going to be renting from? So as we look at this, I just want to prepare kind of, how do we look at the future? How do we compete, right? If you're buying single family homes, you might say, man, this will be a great opportunity for me because everybody's going to be a renter. Could be, right? The problem with that is that if you're competing with a group who has 10,000 homes in the marketplace, do you think that they can operate at scale on lower rents than you can? Yes. So you might be competing. It's like having a 1-bedroom unit and trying to rent it right next to the Hilton or the Hampton Inn, right? Or the Marriott, right? You just don't have that level of scale that they have. So it might be hard. So you need to be able to understand, what market are you in? Can you compete with them in that environment? One of the things that we talk about land all the time, right? One of the things we know is that when things start happening like this, real assets become really valuable. So anything that's going to be a real asset that you can put your hands on, land's a great one. One of the things that Mark Podolsky's talked about, though, if you're in the land flipping world, and you need to be careful not to live off 100% of your note income, because when we go into a depressed environment, that will be one of those areas that people, once they get rid of all of those luxury items, right? They're going to get rid of the gym memberships, the country club memberships, the car wash memberships, all those things, the luxury items. At the end of the day, the piece of property that they're not living at is going to be the payment they're going to let go. They're going to let it go first. So when he saw, after the last crash, what he saw is the market, he saw the defaults on his properties, not in 2009, but more toward the end of 2010, 2011. So just be prepared. Now, what happens is eventually that people are going to come by and want to buy that land back from you, right? When they start building cash back up. So I just think we got to think about what will work, what won't, and there'll be a little bit of adjustment. Being in the retail space, man, like we've already seen the retail world changing. We've got commercial realtors calling us, trying to figure out how to reposition assets because they're seeing the market change there. I think there's opportunity, Joey, for the shared workspace. I think you're going to find opportunities where shared workspaces are going to be more prevalent because people are going to have to get out of those buildings that they were in. They were paying $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month for. And now they're having to cut back. They're going to say, man, I don't think I can do it from home like Russ and Joey do, right? That just doesn't work for me. But they're not going to go back and own a piece of property or carry the rent of a 2,000 square foot building. They're just going to go in a shared workspace. I think that there's opportunity for people in that world. Obviously, we're continuing with the baby boomers retiring at 10,000 a month right now. Is going to continue to grow over the next 5 to 10 years. I think anything we can find to be in that world, whether it's the assisted living. We had that interview we did with tell me his name, Bon Giovanni.
Yeah, Chuck Bongiovanni.
Yeah, when he was talking about the residential kind of assisted nursing home facilities, the medical care facilities inside residential homes. So maybe we're turning single family homes into 3, 5, 8 person units like that. I think there's going to be an opportunity in that world. We got to find ways to get in front of that, because that's continuing to grow. So there's lots of little ideas that I think will work, will not work. The key is that you have to be in community, you have to be in collaboration in order to not get left behind.
I'm going to add just a couple other things, just practically, in light of what we've been talking about, that you should keep your eyes open for, that I know Russ and I are thinking about as well. If interest rates are going to be a deterrent to most people in the future, you need to be on the side of getting as much debt at the lowest interest rates as you can. Robert Kiyosaki says, I'm a billionaire in debt. And that's a smart thing for him to say, because he's leveraged that debt to make all of the passive income that he has. So what does that mean for you? That means you need to learn things like subject to. You need to learn things like owner financing, looking for deals that are off market with people that are motivated, but they just haven't put it on the market yet. And when they realize that they could get a win-win situation with you to sell their house at a potentially higher price because of the financing that they provide you, that is a win. And you will be able to really take advantage of some of these things if you can lock in the debt at the lowest possible terms. The same is true with owner financing. When Russ talks about the boomer generation is getting to the point of retirement, and they have both businesses and real estate that they want to get rid of, that they may have been renting a house and they're just tired of the maintenance of it. Guys like Jeff Stevens, who we've had on the podcast a couple different times, as well as had him at our events, he is the master of going to those people and creating a win-win where they could continue to get paid on the property, but have none of the headache of managing that property, because they provide owner financing to you as the new buyer. That's huge. Now apply that same logic to their businesses, right? So the online businesses, Russ, I know you and I are looking into various different online businesses, both Amazon and other types of things like blogs and newsletters and other things like that could support our business as well as other businesses that we own, that we could own or finance those businesses from these boomers who just have a great business, but they're just tired of working on them. Do you think they would love to continue to get a cash flow from that business without having to work in it day to day? That's exactly what we're talking about.
Well, especially since when everything gets a little bit volatile, they start wondering, am I going to run out of money? They need a cash flow that's consistent. They don't need to worry, is their renter going to stop coming? So if you can come in and become that person who can provide consistency to them, just to the example, Joey and I bought a house last year under subject to, where we took over the mortgage of the existing homeowner at like 2.75%. Do you think we could find a mortgage on an investment property for 2.75%? No, not a chance. But you can when you're looking for opportunities, but you have to be educated. I know this went a little bit long. Hopefully this was something that helped you. So if you're trying to figure out what's working, what's not, keep coming back. Every single week, we're going to keep trying to bring education, experience, and give you hopefully a community that you can plug into. If you need to get on a call, you just need someone smart to talk to, go to whatsaboutwallstreet.com/free call. Jump on a call with one of our coaches. Explain your situation. They'll do a great job of listening to your situation, help triage and point you in the right direction so that you can get firmly on your path becoming financially free. Have an amazing day.